What's up, banana bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Junglejims podcast. What's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Junglejims podcast. I am your host, Mark. Welcome to the show. Listen, I haven't asked this in a while, but, you know, I see that our audio audience is, how shall I say, significantly larger than our YouTube audience. So my point is, I would love if some more of you could jump over and join us on the Junglejims International Market YouTube. And guess what? I'm going to make it worth your while. We're constantly making fun shorts, things that if you're not following us on other forms of social media like Instagram or TikTok, but you can find great little content like that. We make separate videos from the podcast that are usually shorter form that you can watch in your spare time. Things like, well, right now we're working on a video all about different pizzas in the store, for example. I'm actually really excited to show you that one. You'll see products even earlier than the podcast sometimes pop up there, even though we will talk about, like, you know, may see things like this Ghost hydration drink, and this one just came in recently to us. It's actually really, really good. I don't drink a ton of energy drinks, but I do love the hydration stuff. So I'm always curious when you meet these things, and I found a bunch of really good ones lately. I gotta say too, Ghost always gets really fun, like, candy flavors, and while they have those here, like the Sour Patch Kids, weirdly, the one I thought I was gonna hate, the lemon lime, not hate, I guess, but, like, you know, you try the flavor and you're like, yeah, that's fine, I'm never buying that one. I thought that was going to be the flavor here, and realistically, while they were all pretty good, this lemon lime one kind of went crazy. It almost tastes like, tasted like you took a lemonade and a limeade together instead of what I would normally say is lemon lime flavor. It's like that weird, I don't know, like the ice pop note. I'm diving in too deep on a single beverage, but anyway, that's the kind of content you can expect there. So maybe give me a subscribe there. You can do that thing that we all want to do, which is, right, just put it in the background. That's all podcasts are. You just occasionally hear a trigger word, and then you're like, oh, wait, what were they talking about? So now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can put that in the background. You don't have to watch it. But then if you're like, wait, what Ghost hydration energy drink is he talking about? Then you can cut right over here. And instead of just listening to me, you're like, oh my gosh, look, look, he's holding it on camera right now. Crazy. What a world. Oh my gosh, this is the second time I taped this. I accidentally hit the wrong button and then removed my card before the recording was complete. So that was pretty cool. So I don't even know how genuine I was gonna be, but guess what? It's the week after we did Super Bowl already. We did that last week, and I'm pulling up, I broke my ankle in the short form this weekend. So anyway, instead of walking to get the paper copy, I'm using the Junglejims app, which is now available on Android and iOS to throw you some deals. So obviously we got Valentine's Day. Today, the release day of this episode is Valentine's Day. And, you know, I always think about doing some sort of, like, Love in the Jungle segment where you can go ahead and we can talk about people who've either dated or met their partners here, that kind of stuff. We can talk all kinds of things, but you know what? There's always so much drama around it. So then I realize every year, I'm like, this might not be a great idea at all. Our relationship's fun, people. Yeah, right. So anyway, let's go in here on the deal end. So we're doing some Valentine's deals. Look, I always talk about us having a guy, and we got a guy. His name's Lou, and he's got I think one of my favorite deals because I tried them on Friday, this past Friday. These fudged ice brownies. It's a crazy deal. It's like 4 giant brownies for like $3.49. Almost said $3.50. I don't want to take an extra penny from you. They are delicious though, and bring me a lot of good vibes, and they'll bring your sweetie some good vibes too. I saw some deals. We've got like Lindt truffles. They're doing the giant heart boxes. Those are $3 off this week, only $9.99. Compare that with a bottle of Prosecco if you're into drinking, but if you're not into drinking, we got buy two, get one free on Pepsi 2 liters. So you got a little NA action there too. There's all kinds of things. And toy department here, Jeffrey's running 15% off on all of our Valentine's Day gifts. And by the way, this ad is for both stores, so it's a combo from both teams there. Sorry, not to just call it Jeffrey, but I'm like, wait a second, I don't know the Eastgate power structure intently enough to say it out loud, so I know that I love you all over there too. I also saw some Ghirardelli Duet Hearts. They're $1 off, $6.99, big bag of chocolate. Get someone you love some chocolate. I think Connie's running some flour deals here too. I'm pretty excited about that. You can't go wrong with any of this. Okay. Now, the main segment this week, I thought this would be kind of fun, especially when Nikki pitched it. So let me throw it back a year. About a year or so ago, I meet this lady online, and I don't remember the specifics of it really at this point, except that I'm pretty sure it's how I meet a lot of my friends these days, which is someone will post a picture of something delicious, and I go, wow, that looks delicious. And then eventually I go, hello, where can I acquire said delicious thing? What's your deal? And so that happened here too. And it was one of those funny things where Nikki, so I'll call her my friend now too. I joked with her recently. I was like, I don't like to put that responsibility on anyone else, but we love her and we love her business, Oishii Sushi Bakes. So I saw this online, and at first and we joke about this in the interview, it's a casserole, right? So I'm just like, white people food with an Asian flair. Does this belong in the Facebook group called White People Making Asian Food? But then I was like, oh, it's an Asian lady making it. This is probably gonna be good. So I reached out, we became friends. She offers to bring me one, and if you can't tell by looking at me, I have not said no to many a free meal. And she was like, so he came in, we had a great segment, and the segment really popped off. And she said something nice about it, but I always struggle with this part because I never want it to be like an ego thing, like, that's the power of my show. But the segment was really beneficial to her. And in a world now where we're seeing like all kinds of independent businesses and restaurants and things like that shutter their doors. I just read an article this weekend about a business here in town. They opened it sounded like a bad idea, nothing personal, but it was like they were selling like $60 dozen donuts, so they were very bougie. But the thing is, that's not important. It's crazy to think that this business opened and closed within 5 months, right? So it's really nice to see somebody thriving in this kind of, how shall I say, hellscape that we get to live in. So recently Nikki hit me up and she goes, hey Mark, what if we did a follow-up episode just to see what's going on? And she and I were thinking like, yeah, we'll do another short segment like we did last time. It was great. And then she goes, oh, I have another idea. Mutual friend, Ben, aka Fat Ben's Bakery, he's doing something for me. What if I bring him on the show? It's like, oh my gosh, I love Ben. Ben is an incredible baker, independent business, another one that's killing it. He does a lot of he'll do all kinds of stuff, right? Like his cookies are to die for. He did this pickle pie this summer that we got to try that was out of control good. He is now the newest holiday staple in my house because he does these like Thanksgiving pumpkin pies that'll blow your mind. Even if you're someone that's heard me say pumpkin pie and go, I hate pumpkin pie, this pie will legitimately change your mind. It's like the gateway drug for actual pumpkin pie. But he was doing a couple things, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna have him do like an is it cake style, if you know what I mean, where it's like you make something that looks like not cake and then you cut into it and it's cake. And Ben's really good at that. She's like, hey, I'm going to have him do a sushi bake. That'll be great, right? And we're like, oh, of course it is. All right, so let's do it. So anyway, we brought both of them in here. And if you've been following along on social, you've been seeing some of the shorts that I put together that are like, hey, I want you to guess. So now, today, you're going to find out. I thought it was really hard, especially, we intentionally lit it fun and tried to do it remotely because, you don't want, if you look at anything incredibly detailed, it's very easy. That's why on those shows, they make everybody judge from like 20 feet away. You just kind of got to guess and hope for the best. But the cake was delicious and the conversation was great. And I'm going to stop yammering. Let's just dive right into this. Okay, if you haven't met, let's welcome back Nikki from Oishii Sushi Bakes, and welcome to the show for the first time, Ben of Fat Ben's Bakery. Nikki, we're here celebrating our anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, again, Nikki, Oishii, I'm blowing it already. How about you say the name so I don't look like an idiot on camera, even though I'm going to leave this part in.
Oishii. Oishii. Sorry.
See?
You had to cut that out.
I started. Yeah, right?
It's Oishii Sushi Bakes.
Thank you so much. So we are here celebrating a year in for you. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm really glad that we met through the show and got to do all this stuff. We got a fun year coming up here.
Yes.
But I want to make sure I tease this episode properly. I'm sure I did in the lead up, but today we're doing sushi bakes versus sushi cakes. So I'm excited to see if everybody voted online and to figure out which one is which is why I'm also going to introduce our next guest, Ben of Fat Ben's Bakery. Hi, Ben.
Hello, hello.
Dude, welcome. Thank you. I'm glad we're finally doing this.
For sure.
So, yeah,
me too.
Yeah, and we've known each other for a little while now.
Yeah.
You've been a staple at my Thanksgiving and now Christmas for the last couple of years.
I keep forgetting you got Christmas stuff too now.
Dude, I got so many Christmas pies. It was out of control. But it was great. It was like every time I showed up at someone's house, I had something to bring. And I was like, cool, this is great.
I was always concerned though, because it'd be like 4 days afterwards you picked it up and you're like, oh, we're getting ready to eat this. And I'm like, I hope it's still good.
Well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of it is that I just forgot to text you every time I ate one.
That's good. That makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Dude, they were so good. But hey, but before we go too much into how much I enjoy eating what you're doing, why don't you tell us, tell us a little bit about Fat Ben's. Who are you? Why are you here?
Okay, I'm here because, well, Nikki asked me to be here.
I love Ben, by the way.
Yeah, well,
and his pies.
Well, yeah, because I met you through just randomly ordering
Thanksgiving
pies.
Mostly crust pumpkin pie.
Yeah,
most
so good.
Yeah, world famous. Well, at least Cincinnati famous now.
That counts. For most people in Cincinnati, that's the only world they know.
I feel like not a lot of people remember who I am until Thanksgiving rolls around. They're like, oh crap, we need to order a pie, like now. So unlike my dad who orders Frisch's pies. Frisch's, get a pie there. No, so
today's episode.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate talking about myself, like I said, but
right.
I used to be a chef in Manhattan for like 6.5 years, moved home, got really tired of working for people when I thought I could do it myself.
Sure.
So yeah, I started off just doing like, normal bakery stuff, donuts, like some small cakes, whatever. And it's crazy because sometimes like to make myself feel better, like if I do a cake and I'm not sure about it, I'll scroll all the way back like 8 years ago when I started and I'll be like, oh no, okay, so I'm definitely better now versus like where I was. So, but now that's basically what I do. I strongly just do a lot of like weddings, birthday cakes, things like that. And occasionally I do cookie orders and stuff like that.
Dude, I still think about the time you came to visit me here randomly and you brought me some of it was the salted chocolate chip.
Yeah.
Dude.
I think I've had that at a Prasco event once. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Prasco is great because they actually hired me to do just like all their like event stuff. Mm-hmm. So their Christmas stuff and like they do a whole bunch of like different theme nights there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do. And they allow me to do what I want. So the salted chocolate chip cookie is always a staple because people go nuts.
It goes so hard.
That's because there's a special ingredient that goes into it. And it's funny because people will be like, I swear, did you put like, it tastes like caramel or something? I'm like, no, like, it's just it's what makes it stand out from everybody else's chocolate chip cookie.
Exactly. Well, one day I hope to find out what it is, but I won't ask on air just to be safe. But thank you. They are really, it is a cookie that lives rent free in my head. Kind of like your sushi bakes, to be honest with you. That's how this all works. That's why I was like, yes, come on back. Let's do this. Okay. So I do have notes for you, Nikki. So I want to make sure we get through some of the important stuff. So you are a year into the business.
Yes.
How many sushi bakes do you think you've made since you started?
I had to count before this, and I think it's over 700 sushi bakes since February 16th, which is our anniversary date, and that's of varying sizes, of course. It's hundreds of mini ones, but many regular size and large ones as well.
That's amazing. Damn, that's a lot of sushi bakes. I'm
just
sitting there
like, is this like your full-time job though?
Absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
It is very, very part-time.
Wow.
Yes.
When you say very, very part-time, would you say that almost full-time? Because if you're doing that many, I feel like you're...
Nights and weekends, yeah. But I still have a full 9 to 5 regular, and I travel a lot for work too.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Good for you.
Yeah, seriously. Congratulations. That's crazy. I'm just sitting here thinking about how much time it would take to make one of these, and I'm like, 700. That's like 2 a day. Over a year.
That's funny that you say that because anybody who's been in my kitchen and helped me make the sushi bakes, the most common thing they say is, I never knew how much work this takes. Like everyone is like, oh my gosh, like it takes a lot of work to make sushi bakes.
You're probably like an oiled machine now though. Yeah. It's probably just like pop, and then get it done.
I have a really good sous chef now, which is my niece.
Oh,
But,
that's awesome.
She is amazing, and I probably can't do it because I'm pregnant now and I have less energy, but she's been great.
Sure. I actually had some questions about that too, because I was going to say, obviously, before we do that, how many pop-ups do you think you've done? Did you count that by any chance?
Yes. So I've only done 3 pop-ups. I wanted to do them quarterly.
Cool.
So I kind of did them quarterly.
Yeah.
So the first one was at Wyoming Meat Market.
Okay.
Amazing first experience pop-up. We sold out. Second one was at the Farmers Market in Hamilton.
Okay.
And the last one I did was in the fall was at Longfellow's Bar in OTR.
Oh, cool.
Loved Mike, the owner, the whole staff there, the vibe. Just I've never done a pop-up at a bar. That was really fun.
Oh, that's so cool, though.
that was probably like one of my favorite experiences this past year.
Well, around that, so you mentioned obviously with the, so first off, congratulations on the pregnancy, of course. I'm assuming that's going to throw a little bit of a wrench in the works this year, probably, right? So what's the goal? I know we're going to talk in detail about some of the goals this year, but like, what's the maybe this is a good chance. Do you want to do more pop-ups? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a few months off for maternity, like a little maternity break, and then when I come back, I hope to do more of like a kind of have sushi bakes more readily available for people who want to pick it up anytime, because one of the feedbacks that I've gotten is like, oh, we have to order and you sell out within like hours of releasing, because what I do is I release several dates for the month at the beginning of the month, and then within a few hours people like book it all out.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do just like maybe like ready-made sushi bakes and have them in cafes or bakeries or delis, so people can just go to like, you know, there's 2 places in Cincinnati you can get it, and then they can just go there whenever they want.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah,
Junglejims would be a great place for that.
That would be a fun one. Yeah, seriously. I'd be curious as to how that would work. What departments do you usually put yours in? Are they like a bakery item? Like where would
I would say, you know, like when you go to like either a cafe or a bakery and they have a cold case.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was thinking of you.
Yeah, like a cold case where you would find like pasta salads, where you would find like ready-made salads, that kind of thing. Because I can package it up in a way where, you know, they take it home and then they bake it, but everything's ready in like a little package.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I always love getting them because I've had a couple. You did my mom's birthday this year. I mean, we've done multiple this past year. So thank you for that too. I love it. It's always super easy. Look, I'm just glad you are two brands that show up at all of my important events now, right? And thankfully all around ones that I get to eat at. So thanks for that. Any ballooning weight, I will pass across the table.
I will proudly take that from you. So.
We can trade. You can finally be Fat Ben.
That's it. Yeah.
I want to know the story behind the name.
Just the other day, it was so funny. So we were celebrating my brother's birthday, and we went to the melting pot, and it was just both of my sisters, him and I. And I had worked out right before I went, and I was starving, and I'm like eating the food, and my brother Ryan next to me goes, "Man, you're about to go back to being Fat Ben," and I'm like, and that's basically why my business is called it. So I used to weigh 270 pounds. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I used to be like a huge guy.
Up until.
Probably until I was 19 is when I started losing weight. And then I got down to like 130 at one point, 135. Whoa. Yeah. When I lived in New York, I was working a lot. I wasn't sleeping very much. And what ended up happening is I saw myself in a photo and I was like, okay, like you need to put some weight back on. But yeah, Jenny Craig, Palm Beach, Atkins. Yeah. I mean, I lost so much weight and it was exhausting. But my family loves to remind me of Fat Ben. So they would like, when they're at my parents' house, they would start scouring through like old photos. And oh my brother's favorite, my brother's favorite photo is, there's a picture of me, I'm huge, and I have this like giant cooler in my hand with like 2 popped collars, and I'm wearing a horizontal striped shirt, so nothing is like helping me out. Right. But they sent it to me at like 11:30, and they're just like, ha ha ha. So we had tossed around ideas of what to call it, and then we decided to call it Fat Ben's because it was my way of giving them Fat Ben without ruining my body for a second time. So yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me ruin my body. Yeah. I can't believe I never asked you that in the whole time. Maybe I did at one point, but I just remember the first time I met you, I was like, oh, that's Fat Ben. I was kind of like, well, I'll cut this line out, but that guy, right? You know, I was like, what?
Well, the best thing about it, so I originally when I first started catering orders, I called myself Wondrous Baked Goods. My dad, and I was that for like a year. And then my dad's like, that makes no sense. Like, what is that? And I'm like, it's like baked goods that are like wonderful. They're like wondrous. And he's like, that's not a real word. So then we all like sat on the couch and started to like brainstorm what we wanted to call it. And like everyone was just saying anything that revolved big, heavy, fat, even though I'm not fat anymore. Like that's just all people wanted to do. So
like you'll never live that one part of your life down.
I mean, honestly, I give it to my dad. He's pretty genius about it because it does allow me to like make connections with strangers because they're like, oh, like I'm Fat Ben. And then they're just like, well, you're not fat. And it's like, well, then let me tell you. So then they walk away being like, oh, wow, like that's a cool story.
Yeah,
it's a great story.
So,
and don't they say, isn't the saying like, don't never trust a fat chef?
No, a skinny chef.
Sorry,
no, I love a fat chef.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So never trust a skinny chef, but you can tell them, hey, I was at one point not skinny.
I'm also like, my family on my dad's side, we're like naturally big bone people.
Yeah.
So like I have to work really hard to like maintain this body.
Sure.
Because I love cookies. I love them. And the other day I made Rice Krispie treats for my family. And I keep telling myself they're fat free. So like it's fine. But like I could eat, mine are not normal. Mine are like this big.
Yeah. I love Rice Krispie treats.
They're so good. But I could eat like the whole pan. So I cut myself a small piece and then I sent my siblings and my mom home with the rest of them. I was like, I can't have these here. So yeah. I'm still fat at heart.
That's awesome. Look,
we love that.
Yeah, right. He's like, he has a big heart. Our doctors are calling it enlarged. But I'm not going to argue semantics on the on verbiage today. Well, okay, and I'll come back to questions, but I just keep looking at this. And one thing I don't know if you mentioned in your setup too is that one of the first times I ever saw your stuff was that you were doing like, you all know Is It Cake, and if you don't, I'll probably put a link to it here. But you were doing the Is It Cake thing. I can't remember which the first one I ever saw was from you.
Yeah, so the reason it became like famous or whatever was, so for my sister Amanda's birthday every year, I always do like elaborate cakes for her. I always try to like push myself to doing something like that I would normally not do, because if it's not good, it doesn't matter because it's for my sister.
Sure.
So she loves a good steak dinner. And so I think we went to Carlo's and Johnny's, and I did a entire hyper-realistic steak dinner, corn on the cob, mashed potato, all that stuff. Yeah. And I posted it, and like I remember waking up the next day and it was like shared like 780 times. Like people lost their mind. Yeah. So then I'm just like, okay, like is this like a skill that I didn't realize I had? So then I just started doing more of that. Yeah. And then next thing you know, like City Bee and Cincinnati Magazine started writing all these articles about it, and I felt really good about it. You know, it's hard when you don't have a storefront. It's very difficult to stand out. Mm-hmm. And so I had to constantly challenge myself to like do new things so people will notice me. Yeah. You know, how do I love myself if other people don't love me? You know what I mean? I
totally get it. Yeah. It was like, don't tell my therapist I agree. Yeah.
But that's basically how it started. And after that, I did like, oh my God, I don't even know. Like there's so many cakes. But then after a while, it sort of stopped. And then when COVID started, I did a take-home COVID like Binax.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I did that test and I posted that. And next thing I knew, like Fox 19 and WLWT were over at my house, like filming me because I made this like super politically correct post about this thing. And that was great because then it kind of put me back in the spotlight again.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Did they ever reach out to you, the company that makes the Binax?
No, they didn't, which is surprising.
Did you tag them?
I did tag them. Okay. They're probably like, this guy probably has enough of them.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm pretty antisocial, so I was pretty good about avoiding getting most of that.
Yeah, that's cool.
My family, on the other hand, they tend to get it quite often.
Oh, that sucks. Well,
I did miss Christmas because of it, though.
Did or did not?
Did. I did miss Christmas.
This past Christmas?
No, it was that year I made the box. Yeah. And I can't remember the post, but it said something like, hey, Merry Christmas, so glad you're here, but would you mind taking this test before you come in the house? I think that's what it said. And it was so spot on to like everything that was going on. So, yeah.
I remember that year. That was a year of weird cakes in general. I remember on my birthday that year, everyone was like, we'll get them because everyone was sold out of toilet paper. I remember getting somebody had me a toilet paper roll. My mom had made for me a toilet paper roll one, which I thought was really funny because I've been team bidet since prior to the pandemic. So I was just like, oh, this is off brand. No, it was very cute. Don't get me wrong. But that's hilarious. Well, you mentioned Cincinnati Magazine, so you're not the only one at the table that's been featured in Cincinnati Magazine. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your feature, Nikki?
Well, Oishii was featured as one of, I think they selected us as one of the city's favorite or best pop-ups, along with some of our good friends like Dunch, and that was really exciting.
Oh yeah, we love Dunch too.
Love Dunch. Have you tried?
I haven't. I have heard of
Dunch.
Their pop-ups are great, and now Michael's over at Gabriella and Gather All there.
Oh man, I love that place.
Yeah, it's really good.
So inventive.
So inventive.
Oh yeah, we just had dinner together the other night accidentally. I totally forgot.
On accident, we just.
Yeah, it really was. I
should have been like, I knew I would run into some foodies here, and there was Mark.
I was sort of curious. I was like, I wonder who else will be there. And I was like, good. So somebody I like.
Were you guys at Gather All?
Yeah. So we came up because so Michael, one of the chefs there, he's 50% of Dunch. But he's been doing these like countertop chef dinners. Okay. And so he's
a
just
table.
And like tasting court. I mean, it's beautiful. And so, I got the text and I was like, yeah, I'd love to come try this out. It was awesome. It was probably one of the better multi-course meal experiences I've had recently. And I've been eating a lot of good ones, too. Him and Christian Gill are the most recent ones I've done.
You love Christian Gill.
Dude, Christian Gill.
He's so great.
He is. And it's funny now because there's like a running gag that he and I are the same person, and it's true.
Moppy from Noodles and...
I love
Noodles
Moppy.
and Noodles or something?
Yeah, I forget the name
Nice
of it.
Noodle and Bar.
Nice Noodles. Thank you. I was just like,
he does a great chef's counter, too. You should try that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. We are really lucky, I think, right now in Cincinnati in general that we've got a really... Look, I've been here long enough to remember what it was like before it became what it is now.
Oh, yeah.
But not so long that I don't remember what it was like in other cities I lived in. And it's really nice to see how much our food scene has just blossomed.
Oh, absolutely.
In the last couple of years. I mean, it's like, look, I didn't think I'd be able to go and be like, okay, which one of these is the real sushi bake? Honestly, I've been staring the whole morning. All I've been thinking about this
Sushi Bake didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Well, especially
I had never even heard of it until you.
Yeah.
It's I'm surprised that most people in Cincinnati have never heard of it because it was viral on TikTok during the pandemic.
Okay.
So
we didn't use
viral.
TikTok until 2022 in the Midwest.
Maybe that's why.
We're always last behind.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but even talking about the changing food scene, even when I moved here in summer of 2020, and since then it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I was so excited to find like a good Asian restaurant when I first came here, but now it's like
it's hard
super
not to.
inventive.
Yeah.
And,
What is a good Asian restaurant to you, though?
Ooh, I love this question.
Yeah.
well, if you walk in and you're getting super amazing service and the restaurant looks super clean, it's probably not a
Pass.
great.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it has to be like look around you. If the customer service is bad, you know, like if you go on Yelp or something and it's like 3 stars, we didn't like the customer service. The food is probably amazing.
I think about that all the time. 3.5 stars. That's the move. And you're like, oh, and you got to read the comments because if like it's white people mad at the service, you're like, oh, I went to the right one.
Yeah. What's the seedy one that like looks sort of seedy that was downtown and it looks like it was like in an abandoned building?
Was that the Yum Yum?
I think that's what it was.
I remember.
Did I miss that? Is it not there anymore?
I don't know if it is or not. I've never been, but I
also
think
can't remember.
I want to say. Maybe, is it Phil Armstrong, who he was the inventor of Cincy Refined? Phil is a great photographer, does a lot of cool stuff. I swear that he wrote some piece on that, or someone did, because it was like that thing where they were like, is this even a real restaurant?
Horrific. I mean, it was horrific to go by. You would assume that like it was probably the most disgusting restaurant, but apparently people swore by it.
Yeah.
I never got the chance because I live in Mason, so like I don't ever get down that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I knew tons of people that went there and thought it was the best.
There's a ton of good Asian restaurants in Mason area.
Which one do you like to go to? I'm curious if you go to the one that I like to go to.
Well, I frequent, it's not Mason, but it's kind of near there, Saigon Noodle Bar.
Okay.
And then there's my favorite Chinese in the area, the suburbs area. I live in Liberty Township.
Okay.
So
You're
not
not
too
far.
far. Yeah. I like Sichuan chili.
Oh,
Szechuan chili.
I think you said Sichuan Bistro.
No, Sichuan Bistro is another good one. But if
Yeah.
you like Sichuan Bistro, you should also try Sichuan chili.
Sichuan chili rules.
Yeah.
I like any restaurant where they go in and they hand you the white people menu, and then you go, no, thank you. I'll take the real
authentic.
menu.
I want authentic.
And they're like,
you need
okay.
to ask for the Chinese menu.
Yeah,
The
always
authentics-
worth it.
Yeah, the authentic sizzling beef, man. I'll eat it, and it's so good. And then I regret every second of it the next day. I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
I want to shout out Sung over there at Dulsat Bistro in Mason too. That's what he's great, and he's like one of actually, you know, thinking about multi-course plated meals. He did a really great one. It was 2022, I think. Actually, it was one of the best things I've had, and I feel bad I haven't seen it. Well, you know, I live in Kentucky, so I'm like coming to Mason is like an adventure
for sure.
I drive 40 minutes each way to work because they're paying me.
Right.
I love you, Sung, and I hope you're doing well. No, that's so good. Damn, there's a lot of good food. It's Sichuan chili though. That's
Sichuan chili.
crazy.
Mason is booming right now.
It really is.
I mean, they got the Dorothy Lean Market opening, and then you have like I think they're opening in.
We don't talk about them on the show, Ben.
Pass.
They're wonderful people.
Cut that out. Cut that out. No. But I mean, they're opening, like, it's crazy. It's smart. I don't know why it's taking so long because it's so heavily populated.
You'd think,
But they're bringing, like, the Eagle over there. Like, most of OTR.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, basically, where the Panda Express is, that little strip center. Right behind it, I think they're opening, like, the Eagle and what else is an OTR?
I forget now. But
what's the Mexican restaurant? Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. I was thinking of Gomez.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
All
Love
they're
Bakersfield.
so it's like, I'm never going to have to leave Mason ever again because it's all just going to be right there.
Why not? I mean, look, I think that's kind of like where things are kind of going to a certain point. That like culture and a local sense is kind of becoming homogenized. And that, like I've got the OTR location, but like you can go to the one in Mason.
Mason is super ethnic.
By the way,
it's crazy.
That's where I want to end up. Like I want to move from Liberty to Mason because it's so diverse.
Yeah,
and the food scene is starting to like be really good in Mason.
I feel like Liberty looks the way I think Mason should look, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I feel like Liberty is definitely a little more, well, I won't name names, but we talked about some places that definitely feel like and I don't, look, whatever. I don't care. White people food. But you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that inherently. Mm-hmm. It's when it's like, what's my favorite Facebook group? White people making Asian dishes. I don't know if you ever thought. Oh my gosh. It is hilarious. It's so funny because it's always just like, everything looks disgusting. And it's
also,
like so funny.
when you go into an Asian restaurant, peek into the kitchen to see who's making the food.
Okay. Yeah.
If it's not Asian people, maybe it won't be the best Asian food you ever.
Okay.
But Actually, Mexican chefs make
I was
really
just
good
gonna say
Asian
the
food
Hispanic
to
chefs
get-
are always like, I was like, look, if they're Asian or Hispanic, we're in
Yes,
for a good
agreed.
time.
The food scene right now, I do feel like it is expanding and it is becoming amazing, but I do feel like food has become a huge gimmick. And I'll just put it out there.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I mean, we just talked about a certain donut place. And I just feel like sometimes, like, I'll say it. Like,
I agree with him fully.
I will say things that other people don't say, but at the end of the day, like, sometimes, like, there is such thing as, like, enough is enough.
Right.
Like, you don't need to make, I don't know, on top of my head, an apple fritter the size of a small SUV. Like,
Right.
no one needs to eat
For sure.
that.
Exactly.
So,
you're like, are we contributing to the health in a beneficial way? Probably.
exactly. Yeah.
That is true.
I mean, that's coming from a bakery.
The
So,
apple fritter that you are referencing to was comically. I mean, like, he's not exaggerating.
Well, how
at all,
big are we
Nikki.
talking?
Probably bigger than what you just did with your hands.
Bigger than this?
no, seriously, that's
I mean, not a joke.
Yeah.
It was like one of those where I was just like, oh, if you told me that was like 3 pancakes, I would believe
It has to be
You
like,
know
I
what
think
mean?
it's probably like a 10 by 10.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And the
So the
cinnamon
size
roll.
of this plate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
I would
close.
say it's like, probably
The cinnamon
Oh
roll,
my
I think, is probably 2/3 of your dish.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Wow.
which I guess I just spoiled which one is which, but that's fine.
Cut that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the biggest problem is that, like, I don't have any like willpower. So, like, if I bought a cinnamon roll that was that big,
Yeah.
I would eat it all and
Exactly.
then get violently sick.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know it's not their fault because
No, that's
you
what
know,
the people want.
Exactly, but the thing is, like, I don't want to eat it all, but if it's there, you know, it's a baked good. If you don't eat it then, like, it's not going to be good the next day.
Of course.
It's just not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point. Which is why I try to eat 4 of your pies on one
Exactly.
day. I really did. I spread it out, I think, over 2 days this time, and it was all good. It worked out great. And it was, and listen, I will say, even though I know you just said that, I think your stuff holds up pretty good.
I do think
Oh.
it lasts.
Yeah.
Like the pies, like the leftovers last. I would say like 5 or 7 days.
Yeah.
For me.
okay, for the record, I am not paying these people to say this.
Yeah, you're not. If anything, we're paying you for letting us say it. Dude, seriously, this was really funny. My friend Jesse came over a couple weeks, or not a couple weeks, but like probably 5 or 6 days into it. Cause I was like, listen, I have like 4/3 of a pie. You know what I mean? And I was like, would you like to come try this? I'll put on a pie buffet. She was going through. She's like, these are incredible. Cause she's been following you for a long time, but is always like either misses the launch of the pie or whatever. And I was like, bro, I'll just get you one this year, you know? And then I forgot to do that and I bought them for
I think you're my biggest client. You love, I mean, you keep me in business. Oh man, because he doesn't buy one, he'll buy like.
I'll run the
them.
line. I just want to try them.
Yeah.
Dude, the thing is, I'm a variety person.
Same.
So I do also struggle a little bit with if it's there, I'll eat it all. So which is why I'm always like, great, I can try some of this and then I can pawn it off on everybody else so that I can just be like
Let's do
normal
a pie
fat.
party next Thanksgiving.
Oh man, I love making pies. Yeah.
Okay, I'm in for that. I'll host a pie party.
Yeah.
We got deviled egg party in here next week. So we'll
Oh,
start
that's
doing
gonna
that.
smell so bad.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Have you ever
Today's
tried-
episode's sponsored by
sorry.
Renews It.
Have you ever tried deep fried deviled eggs?
You know what's funny? I just did at Bee's Barbecue in OTR.
Oh, good to know they have it because
Yes.
the place that I used to get it at doesn't
Where
offer any.
was it though?
The Golden Lamb in Lebanon.
Oh yeah.
They used to have.
How was it?
It's okay.
It used to be so good.
Here's-
Oh,
It used to-
wait, the restaurant?
yeah,
Or
the restaurant.
It's okay. You go to Golden Lamb not to have the most amazing food you've ever had. You
Yeah.
go there for the history. I love like
Yes.
reading through, what Golden Lamb, like all the presidents that have stayed and dined there. And you go for their awesome gift shop. And just
Oh,
for
out
the
of control.
experience.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
don't go to be like, I'm gonna have the most amazing meal of my life.
Well, if I want to go to a gift shop, I'm going to go to a place. Oh God, what's it called? Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Because they have the best gift shop.
Similar
Yeah.
type of gift shop
Yeah,
though.
for sure.
When this is over, I want to tell you something I'm going to do at Cracker Barrel. I think you're going to think it's really funny. That is kind of a good point. And
Yeah.
they're, I will
That's
say
good
the
stuff.
dessert they did for the holiday thing was great. They did this like chocolate peppermint Yule log. That was like that
Oh
one.
man, I love a Yule log.
Me too.
I think
Yeah.
I bought a Yule log from you this
Yeah,
year.
I think yeah.
Yeah.
I don't normally do them. I used to do them a bunch and I stopped because they are very time consuming.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I stopped making them and I decided to do them this past year.
That's so cool.
I
That was,
love
I think,
them.
the only thing I didn't buy this year.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was just like, run the menu. just know every time you're going to put something out for any of those
No,
events, Ben.
you're usually just like, what should I have here? And it's like, my dude, like all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
they're
sounds
all so
great.
different. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in my head, I'm always thinking that whenever I try something new, I'm like, I'm going to unlock a new favorite.
Yeah.
And then I can like narrow that lane down. And that was how I felt when I did try the pumpkin pie the first time. And that was one, and I will say this, I don't think Amy watches the show, but my sister is not picky, but she's particular. I think that's a great way of putting it. And I am always afraid anytime I bring any food over to the house, right? Because and I don't know if it's just like some built-in sibling thing, whatever, because
No,
she's
yeah.
cool. But like, she'll be like, a lot when I bring stuff over, and I'm like always wrong when I was like, okay. And that was the first time I've ever brought, I'm telling you, in 40 years of my life, I've ever brought anything to the house. And she was like, oh, we got to have that again. Oh. And then was like, I mean, seriously. So I brought it over again this year. And she was like, hell yes. It was amazing. So a true testament to what you've done.
That's what the thing about it. So I don't really like pumpkin pie because I don't like the texture of it.
Sure.
So I created it so I could eat pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
But I have been told like every year consistently that it's one of those things where my pumpkin pie can turn the non-believer into a believer.
I totally agree.
That is the highest compliment you could ever give.
Dude, the texture's there. It's like light tasting. I mean, it's great. And the gingerbread version that you had this year, that went crazy hard.
Yeah, it was really good.
That was one. I thought I would like it. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did, if that makes sense. Where I was like, oh, because I was thinking this year the cookie butter one. Yeah. I thought that was going to be hands down my favorite. Yeah. And it was definitely top tier. That gingerbread one. That was the one that every time somebody took a bite of it, they were like, they made that face. They're like, oh, what is this?
My sister was so pissed that she didn't get the cookie butter one. I showed up, and my dad's always like, don't bring any desserts. Don't bring it. Yeah, I'll show up with a pie, and he's like, we already got pie, and I'll open the fridge, and what's in there? A freaking Frisch's pie. Like, yeah, he's like, it's a classic. Everyone loves it. And I'm like, come on, man.
I've never tried it before.
My dad loves it. He also is someone who is a big supporter of nothing but cakes, and I'm like, what do you do? That's me. Like, I make that. Why?
Right.
Yeah.
So. Well, and the thing is, look, it's a traditional pumpkin pie. Mm-hmm. How do I say this nicely? Well, look, you and I are not from here. Mm-hmm. You know, Cincinnati people are very locked into the lane of certain things. I know. I mean it nice. I mean this is, but they are locked into the things they love and not often known for switching. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the Frisch's pumpkin pie was probably like 30 years ago was like the first good version versus like a store-bought pie.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, and now it's the world's best pumpkin pie.
I'm pretty sure it lasts about 9 years on the counter.
It probably does. I actually think they made all of these in the 90s and they're just piecemeal out still. Right.
That's
why the big boy looks so creepy. He knows. That's the dead look in his eyes.
He's needed for an update, that poor boy. For sure.
He's the creepiest mascot ever. I love that.
I get it.
You know, you're like, oh, that's terrifying. He's the real whatever. Like, people go off about the soup can here. But I'm like, the big boy looks like he knows where I live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got some secrets. 100%.
All right. Well, speaking of secrets, Nikki, here's a question for you. Okay. What kind of secret new things do you think you're going to be bringing to the Sushi Bake game in the next year? Are there any new ingredients or little twists on the game that you want to do? I know you've got your Valentine's Day special, which is already, at this point, by the time especially this airs, it's already too late, everybody. But like, yeah, anything along those lines that we should be getting excited about?
Yeah, I want to try out maybe some new protein options. Like right now we have the signature like crab and salmon, or you can do all crab, all salmon. And then I introduced tuna this year.
Oh, hell yes.
And the crispy tofu.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good too.
Yeah. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe introduce like a shrimp one.
Okay.
I'm in.
Or, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. But the next one I would probably do is a shrimp one. Either tempura shrimp or some kind of
tempura shrimp.
Well, if you need a test audience, I feel like you just found 2 volunteers.
Absolutely.
I just learned that Ben has never had sushi before.
I have not had sushi before, which is weird. I mean, I've had seaweed wraps before. I've had rice. You know, I've eaten everything.
You've had all of them separately. That's
fine. I've just never had them as a whole.
But like,
deconstructed.
Your friends or family has never been like, Ben, you want to go grab some sushi?
I mean, they usually do, but I'm just like, let's go get ramen instead.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I can get into that.
Sushi. It's weird because it doesn't come across. I mean, obviously, a giant casserole just of sushi would be filling. I just don't feel like sushi would be that filling. And like, if I want to eat a meal, like I want to gorge myself.
Mm-hmm.
See, as a professional gorger, what I like about sushi is that it looks like, I'm like, this isn't going to make me full, but 2 rolls in, you're like, oh, I feel bad.
How many is a roll? What is it, like 5?
It depends on the piece. I feel like usually 8 pieces, right?
Yeah, and it's about yay long. And it has rice, usually a ton of rice, more rice than I would like. And then topped with fish or some kind of protein. And the rice is what makes you full.
Right.
So like, is the majority of this rice?
No, if someone else not as good makes it, probably. Like my ratio, I'm very particular about my ratio. So I have a good ratio of what I would consider the perfect amount of rice to protein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good. That was the thing. I was, before I met and tried it, I was kind of like, huh. But I did the right thing. I was just like, well, she's Asian, so I don't think she's going to lead me down the wrong path there. For real. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I was like, okay, I trust this. And when I tried it, I was like, oh, this is not at all what I expected. You know, because again, you hear, well, and at the time we were talking about this before about the branding of the Midwest didn't know about sushi bakes. So you're like, it's a casserole. Yeah. And I'm not from the Midwest. So I was like, I don't think I want a casserole. But I was really excited to try it either way. It worked out great. And it's seriously, it's like one of my favorite little, like, it's like a treat to me. I really appreciate it. So
did you like see it on a TikTok and then you were just like, I'm going to make this?
You know, before it went viral on TikTok, I actually used to make it in college with my friends, like my friends' roommates and stuff like that. Yeah. It existed before TikTok. It just somehow during the pandemic, it was one of those pandemic popular dishes, like the TikTok pasta. I don't know if you heard about the TikTok tomato cheese pasta.
I am not on TikTok. I know.
Me neither, but people send me things, and that's how I know. But anyway, I did not create this. I did not invent this dish. I just made it my own.
You did here in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that's, you should take pride in that. That's a you thing.
Yeah. And it's good too. The thing is, I feel confident because after we first met, I ended up watching some TikToks on it because I am on TikTok.
You love TikTok.
I really, you're
a star on TikTok.
The thing, that's what I like. Yeah. I like that I finally feel validated. I was like, oh, I was right all along. But thanks, I appreciate it. Well, it was funny because like, I don't know. I fought it for so long. Then when we started doing it for the show, I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I was thinking like, man, I've done like national commercials and TV stuff. And I've gotten recognized a couple times, but I get recognized almost daily for TikTok, which is
I love these humble brags.
I know.
Look at you.
I hate it. And you know me. You know it's like paining me to say it almost.
I feel like I'm too old for TikTok, but maybe
that's what I thought too.
That's how I feel. Yeah. But I also just don't want to learn another.
Me neither.
I don't want to learn another.
I will say what's good though is that since TikTok blew up and then Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. So now I'm able to just produce one video and then I can put it for all three platforms. So that's really good. And we found, I mean, it's been great for expanding the podcast reach. It's been great for just everything. I mean, hell, it's stupid new stuff. Like I posted, we have $6 off a 12-pack of Liquid Death right now. It's the lowest price in the country, and it's like 10,000 views. Yeah. It's low effort posting almost, you know. But there is a captive, very interested audience there. Yeah. My trick is though, I don't watch TikTok unless I go specifically for something. So I'm just making stuff and hoping it works. Yeah. And I'm like, this is what I think the internet needs. And I'm going like, okay, everybody has a short attention span, so try to keep it under 60 seconds. That's usually my thought process. But then for the most part, I'm like, you never know. And, I work for a brand who's just like, we trust you. Yeah.
Don't you love that? Like
it's like the most refreshing
someone hires you and they just completely trust you and give you like full creative freedom.
Yeah.
Well, you can't box that. Yeah. You are you and you need some room, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Jungle the other day recently, he's like, oh, there's a box. You just haven't found it yet.
Yeah. Well, you can't box creativity. No. And I feel like that's something why I had to get away from working in restaurants is that like it stipends you.
Sure.
Or
stifles.
Yeah, stifles. Thank you. Stifles you.
I was like, I would like a stipend.
Yeah. Stifles you. And it's just what I've learned being in the restaurant industry for as long as I have is that typically people that go to like culinary school, fun fact, I didn't go to culinary school. I'm actually self-taught. So but when you go to culinary school, they usually teach you how to do something like one specific way. Right. And then like, that's just the way you do it. Yeah. When I was a chef in New York City, I worked under like 10, 12 different chefs who taught me how to do the same thing, but multiple different ways. And so now I can do, I don't know, anything and everything, any way that I want because of that. And I love that because you get the same kind of outcome, but there's just different ways to do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you were like, you said you were mentioning you were a chef, like a food cook.
No, pastry chef.
Oh, okay.
I just say, it's weird because if I say pastry chef, people are like, oh, okay. But if you just say chef, people don't really know much of a difference.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, typically like when you're filling out applications, it just says chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
But people don't realize is that I'm actually like a real chef also. So like I can roast a chicken like you have never seen in your life. Oh,
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, no, it's seriously so good. And I wish I could do more like savory things. And I remember, was it 2 years ago where I did like a savory box and I was able to show off like, I did like a Indian empanada.
Can you do that again?
It was crazy. I did egg rolls, like all kinds of stuff. I know, I would never give you an egg roll. You'd be like, this is trash.
It would be on white people making Asian food.
But actually, well, the problem is I take really authentic recipes and then I do everything according to that.
Right.
I will say the thing that sucks about doing a savory box was that like everything needed to be warm, And so like I remember getting up at like 2 a.m. because I made pickups at like noon and I spent like that entire morning prepping, getting all that done.
Sure.
And that was exhausting.
I bet.
So I just don't think I'd ever want to go back and do it again.
Well, I talked to you, I mean, we chat on Instagram and you tell me during the holidays, you work like 36 hours, 48 hours to prep all these holiday pies and cakes.
I will tell you what, between doing stuff for Prasco Park, which I mean, I'm doing somewhere between 6,000 to like 10,000 cookies, like for a weekend. Like that's not an exaggeration. Like that's a real thing.
Does anybody ever help you?
You know, it's funny. Similar to your assistant, I also have an assistant who is my mother. But she like hurt her hand. So this past year she was like out. So she left me to hand rolling everything by myself. But my sister Amanda will tend to help. My business partner Brad, he's super helpful.
Oh, Brad's great too.
Yeah, he's so great. I mean, he does all of my all of the finance stuff and Okay. Yeah, he's great.
And he's a big champion on social too, which I really appreciate. Every time I see one of his posts, I was like, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Brad, but he actually does a lot of social media stuff for like Gatherall and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and PLK communities.
I wonder if I already follow him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I got to meet him when you did the pickle pie.
That's right.
That pickle pie. Damn.
R.I.P.
Oh my God.
R.I.P. the pickle pie.
Wait a second. I'm an idiot. We have pickle wars. Okay, well, it's too late as of the time of this airing, but we have pickle wars this weekend. I can't believe I didn't think to reach out to you before that.
I actually forgot I even made them until you just brought them up. And
Dude,
I did them for like 9 months.
Dude, they were so good too.
Yeah, they were
That
wild.
was one that we showed up. We're like, I don't know about this one.
Pickle
But again,
pie.
I trust Ben.
You didn't have it? That actually surprises me.
It went
Is
so
that a
hard.
Midwestern thing?
I didn't create it. I saw there was some woman, some older woman. I don't know where she was. She was Rhode Island or something like that.
One of those boring states.
No.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm being mean.
It was
now.
at a diner. It was this woman was like 80 years old, I think, give or take. And she created this like pickle pie and people like lost it. And I thought, again, I don't have a storefront, so I need to do something that's gonna, make people interested.
course.
Right.
So I decided to recreate. There are like 0 recipes for this. So I basically scoured the internet to find certain things that I could utilize and I created it. And when Ace's Pickleball Court opened, they hired me to do a dessert menu for them. And I was there for a while and then they changed owners or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, essentially it's like, think if a pumpkin pie and a chess pie had a baby, like that's what it was.
Okay.
And I used a cup of dill pickles, went into it, but it's funny. So I had a ton of people eat it and like blindly taste test it. I didn't tell them what it was. And everyone's like, okay, I'm getting, brown sugar. I'm getting this. No one knew that there were pickles in it. No one. Unless you smelled it, like you would have no idea. It's pretty wild.
By the way, you could see the pieces of, like, if you looked at it and you were like when we ate it, I was like, oh, you can see pieces of pickle in there, because I was really curious the whole time. I was like, I know he put a cup of pickles in this, and I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, is there going to be texture in it? And you could see a little bit in there. So it's like, you knew there were pickles. And to be clear, I'm not really a pickle fan.
I also hate pickles.
So I was sort of like, I felt like I was like, oh man, I hope this doesn't ruin our friendship.
Yeah.
Because I tell Ben every time, I was like, I'll be honest. And if I don't like it, I'll be honest with you. I won't be a dick about it, but I will tell you. And it was honestly one of the best things we ate this summer. It was like, it was crazy. I was just like, I remember sitting there and then, I'm thinking, all right, we'll split this piece of pie. And Brad brings out 2. And I was like, okay, well, we're locked in now. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And it was delicious, dude. Seriously, it was like one of those, again.
I remember
a lot of food highlights in 2023.
I was
great year.
inside Walmart walking down the aisle and it just came to me. So I remember calling my brother and I called my mom and I called my sister, because those are the people I run things through. And I'm like, listen, I have this like weird idea. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, are you ready? A pickle pie. And as I'm like describing it to them, like I thought I was going to throw up. Like literally the idea of it, just like the smell makes me nauseous. I hate pickles that much.
Right.
And my brother was just like, there's no way I would ever eat that. Like that sounds disgusting. I've also made a cake made out of skyline chili. Like before, I know you're thinking like, that's gonna be gross. I used my homemade chocolate cake recipe.
I actually think that might rule.
Yeah, with skyline chili in it, and you put a little bit more cinnamon in it. And the only thing that's kind of odd about it is you do get like a weird, not a weird
Wait,
texture.
is there ground beef in it?
Yeah.
So it's a savory cake.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I was thinking like you made a sweet cake and you just
No, so I
put ground
literally
beef on
used
it.
a can of skyline chili and I used part of it inside my chocolate cake recipe and I baked it. And I know it sounds weird, but it actually was really good.
That sounds amazing. Honestly, I think I'm on board. I feel like, I say this often, but I feel like people get so locked into the chili verbiage that they're like, chili in something else. And I'm like, well, first off, it's really like Greek bolognese. So we're already off to a different set.
It's
Right.
Bolognese.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a little more accurate. It's why, it's funny. I said for years when I first got here, because like when we'd have visiting family, they're like, what the hell is this?
Everyone says that.
And then, but the thing is, if I didn't call it chili first, you got a way less biased reaction, which I was like,
Yes,
interesting.
exactly.
So when you don't view it, because, again, like our family's all over. So it was like, I think a lot of them were thinking back to the Oklahoma days where they're like, all right, chili looks like this. And then you get this thing, you're like, wait, this is not at all.
This is soup.
You set expectations. So I think it was funny because for a long time I was like, I think if I own these companies, I would have rebranded Gold Star and Skyline solely as either just Gold Star or just Skyline. No mention of chili, which it's funny now that Gold Star did do this. Not for this reason, I'm sure, but I think just because they're like, oh, we also sell burgers.
Oh, did they take out
They took the chili out of the name, so they're just Gold Star now, which I think is wonderful.
But did you not know that Gold Star started
as a burger place? Yeah.
Started as a burger place.
Yeah, they're Heavenly Hamburger. And so the story, as I heard it goes, that the Gold Star chili was just like, oh, it's chili so good. It got a Gold Star. And then that blew up in popularity.
I love Gold Star chili. I know I'm going to get a ton of
I bathed in it, dude. I love it too.
The thing is, like, my thought is I would rather eat a Gold Star cheese coney and a Skyline 3-way.
Yeah.
Because I think the Skyline chili is so liquidy on the cheese coney.
Yep.
So, yeah, I stand by that.
Yeah, and as
have you guys tried their burgers? They're really good.
They are. They're like, I went with my friend Josh Sneed a few summers ago, and it was one of those where he's like, he had just done on one of his shows, he had the CEO from Gold Star on it. He's telling me, that's where I heard the story about the hamburgers.
Yeah.
He's telling me the whole thing. He's like, Mark, come meet me for lunch at Gold Star. I was like, are you being serious? And he was like, no, the burgers are great. And I was like, okay, I believe you. And I went, and I was like, damn, these burgers are kind of amazing. Like, it kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Fun fact, I won a year's worth of Gold Star burgers a few months ago, and I'm still working through them. Like every week.
How does someone win that? Like,
they posted it on their socials. Like if you go to Gold Star, tag us, and then we're gonna pick a few winners, and we'll give you a year's
free burgers.
Yes, and fries.
Yeah, and fries.
So I've been, trying to work through. Obviously, I need help because I can't eat a burger a week.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like that's a lot, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's probably the funnest thing I've ever wanted in Cincinnati.
That's awesome.
That's cool. We love a burger for life card. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Wait, for life or for the year?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The year.
Oh, I was about to be like, I'm sorry, this was a campaign?
I have a story about that, actually. So funny enough, along those lines, a friend of mine did a radio show years ago and it's local to me. It's in Latonia, Kentucky. It's like one of my favorite burger joints too, called Bard's Burgers and Chili, who also makes a great Cincinnati style chili. Huh. I think he uses a Wagyu blend still. Jordan, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But killer, it's like a little dive spot, right? And they've been on like Ginormous Foods and a bunch of other like Food Network shows for their stuff. But man, before I really knew the owners, they did a Burgers for Life Club card. And at the time, the place had turned over a bunch. So I just entered thinking, I was like, yeah, I'll get a couple free burgers. I don't know if this place will last. Yeah. And thankfully, that's been like 10 years now. But yeah, so once a week until the business goes out of business, which hopefully it never does.
Right, for sure.
I get a free burger and fries.
Even till this day?
To this day,
Do you redeem it?
You know what's funny? For the first few years, I went like twice. And because I felt bad, realistically, because I love...
Twice total?
Twice total. Okay. Because I was like, this is an independent business. I want them to succeed. Right. And I'm sitting there going like, you're going to like... once a week, I know you're not going to like lose your business. But at the same time, I was very much like, I wanted to support them. So I was weird about it. And then Jordan, the owner, who I am now friends with, Jordan's great. He got engaged here at Junglejims. He's a big fan of this. Yeah, crazy. Dude, he's a good time. And he finally was like, so do you not like it? And I was like, no, I love it. And he goes, well, why don't you come use the card? And I was like, I feel a little weird doing that, honestly. Again, I don't like to brag about myself. I kind of, when I get compliments or win things, I'm like a little like, oh, well, I don't want to hurt your business by doing this. So once he had this conversation, I was like, no, he's like, dude, you have it, use it. He's like, it's not going to kill us. And then I just did the other thing, which was like every time I went, I'll bring somebody new, so that at least someone else, because that made at least absolved any guilt I was feeling.
But you don't realize, like in a small number, it's like, oh, so you had a free burger this week, you had a free burger next week. It doesn't look bad, but then like if you look over a year, all of a sudden
52
you're like,
of those, dude.
Well,
you know what I mean?
All of a sudden you're like, oh, I could have spent, let's just say $2,000 on burgers.
Right.
I do that with my friends and family a lot. I always give away like free food to people. My best friend Libby, who she's gonna hate me for this, but it's true. But basically, like she gets cookies. She'll call me, say she wants something, and I just like never charge her. I'm just like, here, take it. And I like don't think about it. But if you think about it in the long run, I'm probably like, you probably owe me like a couple grand.
Right, exactly.
A couple grand.
Send her the invoice.
No, I would never. But
Libby, make it payable to me though. That's fine. I'll take it. I'll make sure it goes
Venmo at Fat Bins Baker.
Well, look, I mean, I think we've talked a good amount about the future. We know what's going on. I will try. I do think it'd be fun to pitch you here as well. But obviously, if any other restaurant, or not restaurants, but stores are trying to carry it, what's a great way, before we dive into actually trying this stuff, what's a great way to get in touch with you for any of that kind of stuff, Nikki?
Just message me on Instagram or Facebook. That's the best way. And I'll make connections. There's a few that I have in my mind where I want to be and, have connections with. But I'm open to,
if it works, it works, right?
Yeah. Hopefully one in Cincinnati area, like downtown OTR, and then one in the suburbs.
I'm just curious, with how big this has become, do you ever plan on actually opening something? Is that a goal?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, absolutely
I get that all the time.
I love the honesty. Thank you.
Yeah, it's best because you just work for yourself. You get to pocket all the money. Why go and risk your product not becoming any good anymore and things like that?
And I think if I go all in and quit my day job, it could become something, and I can sell more other items other than Sushi Bakes. But I don't really want to. I want this to be this is my passion project.
Yeah.
It combines two things I love, which is marketing, social media, which is how it kind of blew up. Is I market it in a certain way, and also cooking for other people. Yeah. And I don't want to do that on nights and weekends outside of my house or outside of the kitchen that I do it in. I wanted to be able to be I can go to your wedding next Saturday because I just won't take orders
avoid it. I'm telling you, if I get emails. I wish I could read them. I can't remember what it was, but someone sent me an email. They're oh, my son really wants to be a pastry chef. Is there any way that you would be willing to sit down and talk to him? And I'm I remember writing the email being no, tell them no. If I could be good at
change your dreams.
Seriously, I
get it.
I don't know how it is now, but when I started this, if I had known my life or whatever was going to turn out this way, I would have been a firefighter or a pediatrician doctor if I could go back. The food industry is so brutal, and it'll take away everything from you. Have you seen The Bear, the TV show The Bear? Okay, so that show gives me more anxiety than you could imagine. I mean, to the point to where I remember watching the first season, and I kept wanting to cry because I could just feel the angst and the anger. I actually used to work for someone in Manhattan who got so mad at me because he used the pizza oven to do all their breads, and we'd do all the baked goods in it. And I remember putting chocolate chip cookies on the tray, and apparently they were not separated enough. And I remember two of them had baked together. He pulled me to the side, and it was an open space concept or whatever. So there were all these people that were coming in to pick up bread, and he was screaming at me. He's I saw that your dream was you wanted to open your own bakery, and how can you open a bakery if you can't effing separate cookies and this?
I'm getting Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, he spit. This is not a joke. God. He spit directly into my mouth. And not in a cool way.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's not a fun way.
And I remember
not recreational. It's business spit.
Yeah, so I remember as soon as it was over, I got sent to the HR room, and they're do you want to file a complaint? And I remember before I even took the job, they had told me that this guy is unhinged.
Right.
He's brilliant. I can learn so much from him.
Sure.
It was also right around the corner from my apartment at the time. So it just all made sense. Yeah. And I was unaware, but apparently he turns over 11 new people every 2 weeks. That's how bad it is there.
Yeah.
It was the most horrific experience. So I remember going home after that day, crying hysterically. And I remember baking 160 cookies just to prove that I could put them on a tray properly. Yeah. I mean, it ruined me. So unless you want to have someone spit in your mouth, I do not recommend working in this industry.
And if you do want to have somebody spit in your mouth, send me a DM.
Click the link below. Again, Venmo at Fat Bakery.
Exactly. Which reminds me, what's a good way you want to follow on social? Say at Fat Bakery. Yeah. And you're doing it's. I recommend. I always like following you because it always feels like a surprise. Obviously, you mentioned the Prasco Park events, so there's always an option. That's a great way to sample your goods. I feel like
it's free.
It's free.
Everything's free there.
The cookies are out of control. Honestly, if I had one complaint about today, it's that he didn't bring any cookies.
Yeah, where are our cookies?
Yeah, I know. I feel so bad.
Don't feel bad. It's
I
all
thought
joke.
The casserole dish would have been enough.
It is more than enough. It's all in jest. Cool. Well, shit, I think we got to try these.
Oh, can I mention one more thing?
You can mention whatever you'd like. The floor is yours, Nikki.
Currently, you can enter to win a free sushi bake, a large one with Yelp Cincy. I'm collaborating with Yelp Cincy. The giveaway ends on, I think, February 15th, and the winner will be announced on my anniversary, February 16th.
That's awesome.
How can someone rig that to win? I'm talking about myself.
Send me a DM.
You know those things are rigged. Let's be honest. Like whenever you see someone like spinning a wheel, it's rigged. Like
I go really out of my way to make sure because I'm always afraid.
I check to see if you're following who I told you.
Really?
To follow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh wow,
dude, and we're like crazy about that here at Jungle Gyms, and so like I've always been the same way because I know too many people, and I'm always like. Look, whenever you put something, it's like 70% the people who love you that enter. And then I'm like, cool, well, hopefully the 30% I don't know are the people that get picked in the randomizer.
But sometimes you get lazy and you're just like, I don't want to put, 9,000 names in something. So you're just like, you get it.
I'll have some good tools to help with that for where you can just like dump it. You can like dump it in. I mean, I don't know how it works. Do you hand
type every single name?
No.
It depends on how you intake the info in the first place, but I usually dump it to a Google form of some sort. And then I can just use that data and put it in a randomizer and it's seconds.
I might start giving away free cakes. There was like 2 or 3 years ago where I gave away a cake a month for free. And that allows me to do whatever I want, which is fine. And
it's great. It's an easy, that's like a free social post, right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
And that's, I saw, because we all struggled with this, but the Instagram algorithm, that giveaways help, you to get more visibility, assuming you have a lot of entries. But that's a fun way to.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the only reason we talked about TikTok. It's like, I feel like Instagram is like forcing me to like go into another social. Yeah. Because the algorithm just... How do you have, 11.3 thousand followers, but like only 408 people see the post? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like I can't grow as a business if you're not going to promote it.
Right. And it's weird because they're like, well, you could pay to promote it. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know that would work. And then the numbers they show you now are so they're like, listen, for $25 for the next day, I can give you 30 more people. I'm like, no, dude.
I think that's cheating.
It is.
I don't feel like I earned those followers if it's because I'm paying for them.
I keep thinking about it. I had that video go viral a few months ago where I was like, the guy getting pulled over and it put on a ton of followers.
Huge.
And I was like, hell yeah, my engagement's going up. And I was like, cool, 6 new people. I have like 10,000 new followers. 6 new people look at my story. I was like, okay, so this is, because people are just like, follow. And I'm hoping, I don't know. The algorithm's screwed. And we're in the end times, folks.
No, facts. Yeah.
All right, so the real question for me today. Do we go savory first? I feel like we got to go sushi bake first, right?
Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very excited for you to cut it.
Wait, are you going to reveal which one's the real one?
I mean, I feel like, Let me see. Here, let me get a second angle on it.
Because I can't tell from here.
Yeah,
you have to get really up close.
It is like incredible how good job
you did a wonderful job then.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a fun challenge.
So do we think it's this one's going to be cake? All right.
It's not. That's not cake.
It'd be funny if this one's also not cake. So in that case, Ben, I need you to do the honors.
I'm going to stand up. I don't want to trip on this wire.
That's okay. Yes.
Okay, so the best way to do it is I'm going to be able to cut through all of this.
Yeah, I unfortunately have a terrible knife.
Yeah, in case you are unaware, the dish itself is also...
Oh, tell us about how you made the dish.
Oh, baby, look at that cross section.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Wow.
It is cake. It is cake.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, it's...
That's so funny. That's amazing.
Yeah, everything's... so you can't really notice from here, but if you were to zoom in, you can see that there's like tiny little grains of like rice. And I actually hand rolled 2,185 tiny pieces of rice to like give it like that look.
It looks real. Like it looks
real. I felt really good about
You should feel amazing about it.
And again, for the people that are unaware of a hyper-realistic cake, the difference between... because my friend Nikki had asked it earlier. The difference is like a hyper-realistic cake needs to be like the exact same shape and size as like a normal day object. And so it was difficult for me to do this because I didn't physically have one. So I just had browsed a bunch of photos. But yeah, I mean, I did it first and I didn't like the color didn't match. So then I went back and did it again. But again, you have to take it around the house because like, I have different lighting everywhere. And but I honestly feel like this matches that really well.
It does.
So
and I would know because I see so many sushi bakes, and I think it. So I'm most impressed with the green onions, like how he did the green onions.
And I did get some tight shots that I'll insert in here, so if everybody's listening, you can watch on YouTube and see it up close. Yeah, it's incredible. The avocado too. I mean, like all of it, incredible. The hand rolled rice, I think, is really like
2,100.
Yeah, and 15, as I said.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the one?
Yeah, I wrote it down. I wrote it on my phone. Yeah. It was a lot. And the thing that sucked about it is after I did it and then I put on the first topping of it and I realized I didn't like the color, I pulled it off and all the rice came off too. So then I had to go back and make more and it was, But yeah, and then I did the handle and the pan out of chocolate, which I molded inside.
It's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
It's seriously incredible. Container.
But I want to eat that.
Yes.
Okay.
I know what cake tastes like.
I feel like you, and I feel like especially, so I brought this over. I was like, Nikki, I think you should walk Ben through this process.
Yeah.
I know I've done it for the audience, but we got to have Ben's experience documented.
So I need this.
Yeah, grab one. Grab a piece of nori, which is seaweed. And then grab your spoon. Just scoop a little bit out like this. Make sure you get both the protein and the rice. Use any corner. That's perfect. And there's multiple ways you can eat this. You can eat it without the seaweed, just with a spoon, you know, like how you would eat a casserole. But then my favorite way is to wrap it up like a mini taco.
I'm going to push this in here a little more. There we go.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, cheers.
To another year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is not sushi. This is just a casserole. 100%. Man, it's so tell me what's on the top of this. Like, what am I eating?
So you're eating a mix of baked salmon, imitation crab with a Japanese mayo and sriracha mix, and then it's drizzled on top with what's called unagi sauce, which is
unagi.
Yeah.
For any friends references.
Yes. Unagi, yeah. Unagi sauce and spicy mayo on top. And unagi sauce is like a sweet, savory umami sauce.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the brown stuff.
Yeah, it sort of gave me like a soy sauce vibe. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no soy sauce in here though.
Okay. Well, like no, like the sort of the taste of that.
Tang,
yeah. And that was sort of again in the photos that were sent to me to mimic. Had like some of them looked a lot browner and some of them looked red. And it's weird because when I first did it, it looked more red, and then the longer it sat, it turned into a darker brown.
It turns kind of transparent, but in the bottle, it looks kind of like barbecue sauce.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah, and it tastes better when it's right out of the oven too. Like when it's hot, and then you can put like extra sauce on top if you like sauce.
And I like it. I will eat some the first day, and then I'm it's like the chili thing where I'm like, ooh, the second day is even a little bit more impressive.
Yeah. What I love about Sushi Bakes is that, yes, you can, it lasts, for like 5 days, up to 5 days, but you can reheat it either in the oven or in the microwave.
I recommend the oven personally.
Yeah, me too. And then, you could bring it to work. Like the mini size is perfect for heating it in the microwave if you need. But the good thing about this is that it keeps really long. And then
I'm not just gonna say this because we're friends adjacent, and so I don't feel like lying to you, but this is actually very good.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was a little hesitant about it because again, like I'm a little weird about sushi. But yeah, like this was very good.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Actually, one of the biggest compliments is that when people say, I don't eat sushi, but I really like your sushi bakes, because it's this is not like authentic sushi, because when we're talking about authentic sushi, it's more like the raw stuff, the sashimi, the nigiri. But this is more like the sushi rolls that you eat. That's fun and kind of like very comforting. This is very comforting to me. Yeah.
Like I feel like if I didn't tell my family like what this was, I think they would eat this and be like, this was really good.
Yeah, we love it. Like
and it's not it's not overtly fishy though. That's the other thing. Even with having so many fishy items in it, it's really not that whack.
Yeah, because nothing's raw, and the sauces really like balance everything out.
Absolutely.
And there's cream cheese in there. It's creamy. Cream cheese, Japanese mayo.
Wow.
I'm obviously I'm a fan already. So now I got to try the tuna version. I feel like that's the only one I haven't done.
That
did I do a tofu maybe?
I don't know if you've ever done a tofu.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But people really like the tuna.
I wonder if the tuna would be does it taste any different than the crab and salmon? I feel
it has more of a tuna. It's kind of like a tuna casserole.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like tuna gets it's a little more mild in flavor compared to salmon, generally speaking, right? Do you feel, am I crazy? Or is it just one I prefer?
It depends on how it's done.
Right.
Because sometimes salmon can be like real salmon.
Right. Yeah, which is why normally I don't eat as much salmon as I would tuna, but I was like, well, I trust her. So
Oh man, I love salmon.
See?
Oh, I love salmon.
I'm breaking boundaries, baby.
Yeah, and you can do an all salmon one, so you don't even need to have the imitation crab. Just have all salmon.
Yeah, do a classic. I mean, listen, I think when I met you, I was like, do what you think is the right thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
You give us all the creative freedom, also.
Well, I think that's important, right? It's well, look, I'm thriving without a box. I feel like you guys would do the same thing. I'd rather be like, what do you think I should try? I'm open-minded, you know?
That's what I always ask. Like when I go somewhere and I'm not sure what to order, I go, what do you think I should order? Like, what is one thing on your menu that I have to try? Because a lot of times there's so many good options to dine, places to dine at, that you may not ever come back to a place. And I want to make sure I want to try everything that they think I should try.
You want to hear something that's probably just going to like blow your mind?
I can't wait.
Okay. It's kind of gross, actually. So from someone who's been in this industry for a very long time, sometimes when you go to restaurants and people like similar to yourself are like, oh, well, what should I try? They'll usually tell you like whatever is A, about to go bad. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, B, like whatever they have a lot of in the back that they need to get rid of.
The daily special?
Always.
Right.
Yeah, always. I mean, essentially, when you go to a restaurant, you ask what you're getting, you're going to get a frittata, which is everybody knows is the end of the week's stuff. Frittatas are trash for anyone that eats frittatas. Okay.
Is that like an omelet?
Yeah, it's basically essentially like a casserole.
Yeah.
Omelet.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's usually just with whatever is possibly left over.
Okay.
Like, bits of Twinkies, some shrimp, just whatever you find in your
That's my
pantry.
favorite combo.
Yeah, Twinkies and shrimp.
I want the Twinkies and shrimps.
Well, one of my favorite cookies is the what do they call it? Like kitchen sink?
Yeah,
I love kitchen sink
cookies. Yeah. It's the potato chips in it that always make me happy.
And the pretzels.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good.
I just did frosted flake chocolate chips for a client last
I love
week.
Frosted flakes.
I did that.
Anything.
Yeah, a Cheeto sugar cookie and then like a malted popcorn cookie.
Yum.
Yeah.
It's a good start to the day. Listen, I'm.
Yeah.
Can we try the cake
Yeah,
now?
I was gonna say. I was like, let's go cake. Ben,
don't-
serve us up some cake, will you?
Okay, I will.
And I'll sit here and yammer so they don't have to watch you cutting right now. So Ben's cutting a lovely cake slice for us. You might be able to see him a little bit in the frame. I'm very excited about it. What flavor is this?
What did we go with? I think we just did a vanilla. Is that right?
Vanilla, yeah.
Yeah.
So many
Sounds good to me. No, I can't even imagine. And I'm sitting there going like, oh, I'll have some flavors for my requests.
I'm trying to avoid all of the chocolate shells.
Oh, I mean, I'm only eating this if there's a chocolate shell. Thank you so much.
It even looks like a sushi bake. Look at that.
It's so cute.
Look at the layers. Love.
Give a little rotation.
I did tell him the only thing that I did actually put on this is I did put sesame. Oh, I broke it. I did put sesame seeds on because I actually like sesame seeds on.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Very rare do I actually eat my own cake. Yeah.
Very rare do I actually eat my own sushi bake.
You see?
Yeah. Do you just like hate it? Or not hate it, but do you just get like?
No, because when you're spending all day, because usually when I have my days in the kitchen, I spend all day making it, and the last thing I want to do is eat a sushi bake if I've been making it for 10 hours.
Yeah, that's exactly the only reason. Like the only thing I will make that I will continue that I will eat will be cookies. Yeah,
I love it.
But sometimes, like, once every other month or so, I eat it just to remind myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I get the hype.
You're like,
Yeah.
I get the hype. Yeah, I love that little like encouraging pep talk that you give yourself. It's so funny. So the way I did like I don't know what to call it, like your crab and
Salmon mix.
Yeah, salmon mix on top. It was like you sent me that picture of the bowl with all the stuff in it. So I just basically did that with like I shredded up a bunch of like fondant pieces and like colored it, and I put them in that bowl and then drizzle on, and then I just started tossing it until I got to that color. But then it made like a form of a paste almost, and so then I had to like try and smear it across the pan, and I was like stretching it as much as I could, but I think it kind of worked out.
Dude, this cake rules.
Is it?
Yeah, it's great. It's
My
like
first
super.
time trying a cake of yours.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Moist.
same. It's super moist. It's
Always.
like incredibly fresh. Incredibly fresh tasting. You get the nice vanilla flavor in there.
I'll say
This
I
is
love
great.
a wet cake.
Me too.
I love a wet cake.
A pie, you mean? That's a Christian Gill joke for you.
Honestly, if you like cut up a piece of this and give it to one of my sushi bake customers and gave them this, they would not know that it's cake. It still looks like my mind is confused because I feel like I'm eating
Well, I love
sushi
that
bake right now.
Yeah, I love
really
that
appreciate.
too.
I appreciate the trust, man. It was definitely a new challenge for me to do, and I really appreciated it.
I mean, I wanted to do something fun for this birthday anniversary thing, and as soon as I was like, "What can I do?" I reached out to Mark, and he's like, "Yeah, of course, we'd love to have Ben."
Yeah.
I'm like, this is perfect, and thank you for agreeing to do
Yeah,
it.
of course. Hopefully I don't put my foot in my mouth too much.
No, I think you did a great job. No feed at all.
Yeah. Also, I started getting like hate messages from, Golden Lamb.
Yeah, exactly. I was
Oops.
like, yeah, whatever.
Well, hopefully that'll let them know that they should maybe change their shots.
Just, listen, you're a legacy place.
Good is not enough.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned, you kept saying it was fine. It was good. If I'm going to spend $120 something on my meal, I'm not, it better not be
I want to
good.
talk about it positively. Exactly. I want to shout your name from the mountains.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. Yeah. It was just that it was like, that's what we're doing with legends. And I think about this a lot. Look, it's a testament to my employers, right? In that what I love about working here is that everybody's always looking to the future, and they're always like, hey, this may have worked for our customers 20 years ago, but that might not work for the customers 20 years from now. Right. How can we look forward? And I think that's really the point of that whole segment there, was just to be like, maybe think about the next generation of customers who are going to be a little more discerning in our taste. Right. Look, it was easy before the advent of social media. Now I know implicitly what's going on in every kitchen, right? Because everybody's posting it. Yeah. You're seeing food and you're seeing people try new things. You're like, wow, should we rest on our laurels during this? Yeah. Maybe it's just that I just watched Chef again the other night, so I've been thinking about it a lot, I always love that. He's like, play the hits. I'm like, don't play the hits always. Yeah. Don't only play the hits. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's back to the sushi bake. It's so funny because we had talked about earlier, if I had taken this to my family and not told them what it was, they would have loved it. What I've learned in this day and age is that, and I think it's the same for anybody, if someone tells you what something is, your mind, if you don't like what the item is, you will immediately already be like, I'm not going to eat that.
I'm tapped out.
Similar with the pickle pie. Yeah. If I told you there were pickles in it, you would have been like, oh, that's all you could think about. So then obviously you're looking for that. So what I do is nowadays is, when I do like new items to give to people to try, I don't tell them what it is, because then you can't already hate something that you don't know.
And that happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Power move.
Yeah. I do think one thing that Cincinnati really loves is like something new, like something novel.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I feel like people ask me this all the time, like, oh, how did you make, because I have a lot of projects and kind of endeavors that I work on, and both of the things that I'm really proud of is Oishii, because I'm like, think of something that Cincinnati has never heard of or they don't have yet, and just, go all in on that. So then I made Sushi Bakes, and then I also founded, like, when I first moved here, my whole personality is like, I own a corgi, and I love corgis. And there was
China has a corgi. She like swears by it.
The
Cackleberry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's so sweet.
I know. She has 2 corgis.
Yeah. Lives for them.
I've been trying to get her to come out to our corgi meetup. So, anyways, I founded Cincy Corgis, which is Cincinnati's corgi group, and now we have like over 3,000 total members.
That's crazy.
And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
I didn't even know that there were 10 corgis in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And then I started.
And now you know all of them.
I started it because it had not.
You started this.
Yeah, and because it had not existed. So I love like introducing new things to people who have never heard of it, or bringing something that doesn't exist, or creating something that doesn't exist.
What would you do if someone else decided to start coming around Cincinnati and making sushi bakes? How would you feel about that? Would you get mad?
I wouldn't get mad. I'd just be like, oh, I'm curious. I want to try your sushi bake.
That's how I am.
Yeah, because one of the biggest compliments that I get with sushi bakes is that because I sell out so often and I don't do very many of them, some of my regulars, I have a ton of regulars. I would say 70% of the people who order sushi bakes from me are repeat, like they come back and they order another one. So then sometimes they can't get it in time, or they want it for an off day that I'm not making it, and they're like, oh, I try to make the sushi bake at home because you can learn how to make it online. And they're like, but it wasn't the same as yours. And then they come back and they order more, and that's the biggest compliment that I get.
Cincinnati is so small that my problem is that a lot of times people will take creative liberty from other people's things. So like, I'm almost certain that I was the first person to do pastry pockets, aka homemade Pop-Tarts, in Cincinnati. I had never seen them anywhere else. I brought them from New York. I brought them here. I'd never seen them. I remember doing them at Urbana Cafe because he had hired me. I thank him every day because they're the reason I'm even here. Like, they gave me this shot in the dark. And I did them there, and they became essentially famous. And like everyone was talking about them. And then all of a sudden, I just start seeing people making them. And like similar to the exact same flavors of mine. Some of them look like mine. And I'm just like, I get angry because it's like, that's my intellectual property.
Right.
Like, I made that.
This is my baby. Yeah. And you stole my baby.
Yeah. And like, that's fine. Like, I'll say it. Like, it's nowhere near as good as mine. Facts. Like, I don't care what you say. And also, like, the thing is, everything that I do, if you look at my Instagram, if you've had things, I pay so much attention to detail on things.
Same.
Yeah. So like on my pastry pockets, like I literally fill bags of icing and I hand pipe them on, which is why they're so clean versus people who, pour it on there and it just goes everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Because I always tell clients, and I'm gonna get this tattooed on my back. You eat with your eyes before you eat with your mouth. If something visually looks amazing, you're gonna want to have it.
Right.
That's why most chefs, like the owner chefs or like founding chefs, are the finishers at restaurants. Like you see them, the open concept kitchen. They're the ones that make sure they look at the plate and then they do the final check, and then the servers like bring it out. But then, they don't stand in the back doing they want to make sure that this is how you present it. Absolutely. And when you go to like Michelin restaurants, they instruct you when you bring the plate, you have to turn it a certain, like it has to face the, you don't just set it down. You set it down in the 47-degree angle that I tell you.
There is a best side to every single dish.
Yeah.
Same thing with cakes, cookies, everything.
The Christmas tree, I know.
Yeah.
You got to rotate it the right way.
I just saw like a meme last night, and it was like the front of it was like Channing Tatum, the back was like a disgruntled Nicolas Cage, and I'm like 100%. Yeah. That is how my trees look.
That's all good. It's perfect, right? Like at this point, I'm like, I just put a shit up against the wall to be fine.
Remember
So the corner,
episode
nobody's
of Friends where Monica let everyone help
Yep.
decorate the
And
tree,
she rotates it.
and then someone was like, "Oh, I'm surprised you let everyone help." And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And then like when everyone's done, she rotates it to the side that's she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Well, let's go rotate some dishes together. We'll rotate some trees together. That's going to be next year's anniversary episode.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, guys, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nikki, congratulations.
Thank
Ben,
you.
congratulations. I'm glad you finally came on the show.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that Nikki allowed me to come on. This is like her thing, and
Yeah, it's fun.
This is
No,
so
it was
much
great. And
fun,
look,
yeah.
it worked out great for me. I got fed. It's perfect. I'm going home after this.
I'm
so.
taking out. It's awesome.
That was fun, right? If you want the uncensored director's cut or just to hear Ben squirm because I said that, visit our non-existent Patreon. Hey, it was a great time. Seriously, I don't know why I keep looking at your chairs like you were still here. Congratulations, Nikki. I'm so glad to see you thriving. Thanks again for coming out here. Thanks for the delicious treats. Ben, man, the cake you sent me home with was delicious too. I may have eaten some of that with my bare hands, but I think that's what the fondant was intended for, right? It's kind of like a holder. Man, what a good time. Well, on that, I don't know. This is a part I don't normally go into the personal thing too much, but broke a bone this weekend, rocking the cane. You can see it right here. And it sucks because it's like, last week I got in a car wreck and then I kind of hurt my right leg then, but it was mostly okay. And then I can't even tell you the story. It's so ridiculous, but it's very funny. And I wish I had the footage, but I slipped and fell and hurt my left side, blah, blah, blah. My knees messed up. My ankle's a little broken here, a little minute fissure, no huge deal. But this is like my first real vacation day or two in forever here. Yeah, I mean, you all know, you see the social, I only work. And, man, I'm going down to meet this killer Australian man that we became friendly through. Well, I mean, I've been a fan a long time, but became friendly because of the show. And they're called Closure Moscow. I'm really, really excited about that. They're doing their first U.S. tour, or first leg of the U.S. tour in like 9 years to support their new album. So I finally get to go and do that. And I did all this funny stuff like, hey, I'm going to book this hotel that's within walking distance of the venue. And then create an inability to walk at the last minute. Like, it's ridiculous. Life's pretty good to me for the most part. So it is funny when this stuff happens because it always happens like this. But I just try to tell myself it's, some form of balance. Balance, that thing I'm lacking to control right now myself. Okay, well, hey, everyone, all kidding aside, thanks for letting me tell you a little funny story about myself. And more importantly, thanks for watching the show. Appreciate you. Thanks for everybody who converted over to YouTube today. Every subscriber counts. I'm trying to hit 10,000, and then I'll do something really cool. All right, I'm going to get out of here. In the meantime, you can catch me out in the aisles. I think that's the closer.
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.